Hello. So welcome panel. And I would start my statement with, in the new era of luxury, experience is the product and trust is the brand. Today we explore how design can create experiences that inspire trust, from immersive experience centers to perfectly curated sample apartments, and how these touchpoints influence buyers' decision, set expectation, and build emotional connects. We start with the bigger picture. We start with Amit, with you. You have a little bit of limited time today for us. So, sorry, Ram. And what is the impact of these experience centers on the buyers to make decisions of making a sale?
So, thank you, and thank you for the warm welcome, everyone. And very interesting question. We realized as our portfolio kept growing, we decided to build an experience center within one of our show apartments. We said that not only we need to show a buyer what our experience feels like, but also to actually live it. So we didn't build an experience center that was different and then we take them to a show apartment. We converted a large 3,000 square feet apartment into our daily experience center where we bring the client and actually give them an touch and feel of the entire product. And I feel, and my sales team also believes very strongly that this has made a very large impact in terms of the actual touch and feel for the person, whether it's actually walking into one of our lobbies and going up the elevator, which is completely done up, to entering a typical lift lobby, to seeing the window sections, to actually sitting in a living room that's completely done up. So the whole point of the experience was not only going to an experience center where everything is digital around you and you're showing a render and an elevation, all that also is a part of it, but to actually sit in a completely done up luxurious apartment while experiencing that, I think has been a very large impact in terms of someone actually getting what the build quality finish is going to be delivered ahead.
Perfect. Bhavik, I would like to ask you, what is the role of advisories? Are they significant? They play a significant role, the mandate companies. Do they definitely give some guidelines or they drive the project successfully?
Hi, good afternoon. Tushar, what happens, the advisory firms or mandate firms predominantly exist and will keep doing it basis three key reasons. One, when you want to expand your business disproportionately, then you do a conventional way from a developer side where you have a limited resource and you keep doing it on a monthly basis. For example, let's take example, you are launching a project and you're looking at 1,000 crore sale in that quarter, right? Now, in order to do that 1,000 crore, you will require X input, which will allow you to reach to that number. Now, normally what happens, the developer will take some time to build that team, prove that, but after that 1,000 crore launches, then this whole ecosystem that you have created then gets no work few. So then it becomes a liability, and then the developer says that, why should I invest my money? Rather, I'll put it to someone who is on success basis. And that's how Enorox, Xanadus, or Guardians, or Flow Realty, and other guys work in. There are some brands in this segment who actually give you a lot of input, not just in sales and marketing, but also in product development. And a lot of times what happens, the CAT B and C developers, a lot of times they don't have a professional head design or architecture, or they work with a B segment of design. So they understand the market, they do a pulse, what will work, what kind of design should work, what amenity should work. They look at pricing and look at whether the market acceptability is there. And basis that, they actually advise the developer to do that. But in our cases and probably in ACAT developers, because you have a fairly large professional setup and teams, you don't require that input in per se.
Okay. We are closely working with this kind of advisory firms, and yes, truly, I mean, before 2-3 years, maybe post-COVID, there was a lot of projects that were driven by these mandate brands. But what we lately see is it is a little bit reducing, and it is going to the developer who are not too profound or new entrant. So probably that is very much impactful for them. Kshitij, another is one for you. What are the non-negotiable elements in experience centers?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having on this panel. A very interesting panel, and I probably get to be the minority on this panel from a design standpoint. So, non-negotiables, first of all, the biggest paradox lies in the very fact that we are trying to create an experience which is going to, as close as possible, come closer to the reality that you're actually trying to sell in the tangible terms. So as an architect, I think we are all dreamers at the end of the day. So, from a design standpoint, the least 4 or 5 things that probably come on top of my head is that how we can actually convert the abstraction into a tangible reality, So the idea is that the buyer today, although they may be well-read, well-literate, at the end of the day, it's a technical data. If we can actually convert that technical data into, some sort of a close to real life reality, so as they can actually step into that. Second very aspect is engaging the senses. It's a very important part. The way light, the materials, the textures, the smell, the sound, all of that basically bundles into something that's going to be there. Third is basically building that emotional connect. At the end of the day, whoever is going to be the buyer, who's going to be coming to experience the product or the project, ultimately he's just trying to imagine himself or herself into, basically either living there or probably working out of that. So for him to, for you to aid that visualization is going to be vastly important. Fourth, very important thing is basically an experience center, an elevated experience can actually, reduce uncertainty. With a lot of things, in a real estate development sector, people strive for or crave for is the clarity as to what they're actually buying into. So that clarity that is coming across very clearly is going to be very important. And fourth very important part is basically how we as an architect can actually aid to the whole process of accelerated decision making by adding value into that particular project. And obviously for a developer front, I think it will differentiate in a way that it basically, the project will stand out in a very, very crowded sort of a market. So these are 5 or 6 very strong, non-negotiables that we will try to, sort of deal with it through the design.
Perfect. Even we do a lot of CECs in us, and when the sales team definitely gives us the briefing, there is certain market strategy, market study that all goes within, and as for the ticket sizes that are being sold out there. So Ayushi, could you just help us out with that? What is the study behind the market that your team does, and give the briefing to the designers so that it helps out to them to actually come up with an idea of creating something which supports the sales?
Yeah, I think today when we look at real estate, it's no longer that, I had this intuition or this gut feeling and gut instinct and hence I built this. I don't think we're in that era of real estate anymore. It's very data driven. It is a lot of analysis that goes into building that right product and finding the right product market fit. And that's an important aspect of the entire real estate value chain that we create, because I think once you design something, it's very hard to go back and change that intent of design. And so you have to design right. That's the first step to getting your project right from a market point of view. What we look at primarily is we definitely deep dive into the micro market. We look at what is selling, what has been the past trend not just over the past 3 to 5 years, but one thing we also look at is you're always building for the future. So it's not just 3 years down what's going to be the new trend. It's also 3 to 5, 7 years, and depending on the size of your project, you build for that cycle of real estate that you want to, kind of envision going forward. So that's one big aspect. Another thing that we really take into consideration is what type of impact that you will have on that local dynamic and the local geography of that area. Real estate, we're fortunate to be in an industry where we can really have an impact on the urban fabric. And by being a little bit more intentional in our choices of, the right design, I think we can really change that micro market and the dynamics. It can be something as simple as, having a of course, a lot of projects have high street, but how do you really make it a modern, new age, luxury, high street experience, which changes the entire dynamic of that particular street? It can be something as simple as, having a different angle of doing gated communities and mixed-use developments, which in today's urban dynamic are some of the biggest hits, because you have that walk-to-work culture where you're avoiding traffic, you're avoiding a lot of other intricacies that go in with the growing urbanization, and how do you really build that micro market up. So those are some of the things that we really look at from a design intent point of view. And then, of course, the third thing is we design inside out, it's not outside in. So which means we go as specific as we give them the room sizes. And most of the architects that work with us know that we're very, very particular. Our design brief is very detailed to the extent that we give the exact square feet, the exact room dimensions, the exact bathroom dimensions, and then we like our product to be built that way. And of course, the architect then has the creativity to build on that brief and add their touch to it.
Okay. We hear this word ROI measurements all the time. So, Ram, could you help us out? How do you measure the real estate return on the investment of experience centers? In terms of conversions of sales?
So it's a very macro question, if I may say. So again, it depends on the scale of your project. Every project is a different scale in terms of square footage and in terms of value. For example, most of our developments in the Khar, Bandra, Santa Cruz, Juhu market, they're high ticket, but the square footage is very low. Versus if you're doing a development in, say, a Thane, where you have much lower ticket, but a much vast square footage. Maybe the net bottom line of the ROI is similar. So I wouldn't put it in that context that how do you measure it? Because honestly, it's impossible to measure that. It all depends on the volumes that you need to sell. Right? So in a project that you need to sell large volumes, I think it's critical to be able to host a number of people, to be able to plan that entire experience of the volumes hitting your door and for the whole experience that they actually get, versus doing a boutique development where your target client is very different, where your marketing is a very different experience, right? So I think every project has a different ROI and a different type of experience that you can create. Having said that, both require experience centers, right? It's just the way you do it and how you do it, which will be very, very different. There are some projects, to be honest, we've done 0 experience center. We've built the RCC, sold Khoka flats. It's on the location, it's on the plan. Because honestly, someone who's buying luxury, they understand the plan and the built history of the developer, that what kind of quality he's going to be delivering. So we've never needed to do in most of the projects anything in terms of that. So it's the product that sells. But some projects where it's a much larger scale, where you need to be able to go into the detailing of the entire product when the ticket is slightly lower, definitely it makes a big difference.
So was the IR/VR to your rescue at that point of time when there was no physical CECs where, I mean, in picture, where you could not build them because of space constraint or time constraint?
Yeah.
But was there IR/VR being used a lot for that?
Yes, definitely. But also it was the history of your previous projects.
Okay.
So having said that, we've held some luxurious units in our completed projects, which we're actually talking about as the experience of your build finish, and talking about a similar experience through VR for the new projects.
Okay.
I will just add what Ram said. So if you look at a little larger macro, it starts from the developer's vision. For example, a new BCAT developer who's entering a luxury market, for him, that's not the ROI, because that project probably may be a smaller one. But if he's entering into, he knows that if he does this well, he can get more land parcel options or JV. Second, what happens sometimes when you are in the market which is cluttered with ACAT developers, right? Why would a customer prefer you as compared to other ACAT developer? Because they are also of the same pedigree. They have the legacy there. And if you are looking for premium as compared to someone else, then you will have to look at experience from a different angle. Third, sometimes what happens, it depends on the cash flow condition of a client. For example, as rightly said by Ram, if the scale of the project is small, and there are a lot of developers in Khar, Jew and Santa Cruz market basically say, we'll complete and then we will sell. There's no need for cash flow. While there is another guy who has taken funding at 20% IRR and he is under tremendous stress to sell because he has to repay the interest, right? In both the cases, you require value. And in real estate, the game is all about how you perceive and what the customer is willing to pay you, the perception value. And that's where the experience center plays a role. And it also sometimes, generally what I've heard from a lot of this big stalwarts, whether it's Niranjan Bhai or it is Mr. Mofadraj Manod or Vijay Bhai, spaces normally speak. And if your experiences speak, it does 50 to 60% of your selling easy because the customer is already in a frame of mind because he's now understanding luxury, touch and feel rather than the guy who's selling him luxury. Because what happens generally, a sales guy whose salary is 20 lakhs is selling a 20 crore apartment to a guy whose net worth is more than 300 crore. And that's where the perception and experience plays a significant role.
That was wonderful insight. Kshitij, I think we both sail into this boat of making everything at zero level. From our perspective or from the client's perspective, what do you think, why is the strategically it's important to build sample apartments right at the start of the project, at zero level?
I think that's pretty much an extension of the question that he has already answered. But, you know, frankly, my 2 bits on this is very simple. And there's something very interesting that he just said, that buyers don't forget how the space made them feel. You know, that's very, very important. Compared to, you know, what they typically see on the paper or a brochure or stuff like that. So typically for an architect, it is important to sort of make sure that this entire feel, the emotional connect with that space basically comes through as close to reality as possible from, you know. So there are tangible and intangible aspects both, you know. One is the hardcore materiality of it in terms of how the wall finishes are going to be, how the ceiling finishes are going to be, flooring finishes, possible combinations and permutations of the floor layouts and stuff like that. A lot of developers today have also seen a value in terms of showing the end users what lies hidden, you know, behind the shaft walls, behind the concealed pipes, what goes behind the plumbing lines and stuff like that. So there seems to be a very amazing kind of an effort to, you know, come out very, very clearly about things which are seen, but also about the undertaking, the performance of things which are not seen. Because, you know, these are most of the times the unstated sort of needs which come into play. So I think at a zero level, at the end of the day, while the learned might be able to read off the plan and probably for a smaller development which is high ticket, you may not need selling at the strata level that you typically do for a large scale development where the whole selling experience or the experience of making buyer buy into the development is completely different. On a large scale or a mid scale sort of a development, I think having this, you know, the touch and feel of the brick and mortar, how the space is making you feel, how is it getting close to the aspirations of, you know, your buying class, I think that's going to be very, very important. So I think experience centers and the show apartments basically will definitely go hand in hand for a particular strata and depending obviously on the market.
So that gives a birth to another question that I would throw to both of you. I mean, Ayushi and Bhavik. What would you prefer? Because whatever we have built mostly for Sheth is aspirational apartment. And for the brands which are headbound on having an apartment which is with developer specs. So what is your take? What is more preferable to you? Or it is case to case defined that you would want to do aspirational apartment which has no developer specifications infusion in it, but it could be something that is how best it could be done. Or would you go with the trends of having it the way you're going to deliver it?
That's a very interesting question, and our portfolio spans across the mid-income segment where we're selling 1 and 2 crore homes all the way to the ultra-luxury segment where our ticket size starts at 60 crores. So when I look at it, you know, in real estate, we're just in this industry where every project is a new project for us and we're starting from zero. And the way I look at it is I'm not building projects, I'm building an organization that needs to have the capability to run from an affordable segment all the way to ultra luxury, to building a commercial, to building hospital, to doing education. And that's the type of spectrum that we are looking to build, and that's how we're trying to grow. So picking between aspirational or the affordable segment, I don't think that's the way we evaluate it. It is to do with what is right for that particular location. How do we do justice to that specific piece of land? What would it be that would really create maximum value for the consumer and also us as a developer, because you're doing a business in the end, right? And you want that ROI, or you want to call it IRR, NPV, all of those metrics to really add up, and you want to see value creation at the end for every single stakeholder who is part of that real estate ecosystem, whether it is your financer, whether it's your consumer, whether it is you as a developer, and last but not the least, your organization. The way we look at it is every development that we do. So we've done one of the largest IT parks of Thane. We've done this ultra luxury asset that we're building right now, which is Dilip Kumar's bungalow in Pali Hill. We have done one of the first schools of Thane, which was an international school. We've done a hospital. We've done all of these different projects because it really builds us as an organization, and it allows us to really explore within real estate and create value across the whole real estate ecosystem. So yeah, I don't have a clear answer for you there, but I hope.
Will you help me?
Yeah. So, Tushar, what happens, a brand like us who's nationally expanding, right? Every city has its different ethos. For example, in one of the conversations that we had, so in Bombay, if you see, predominantly there are two concepts. One is called show flat and another is called sample flat. Show flat is something which you want to sell as an aspiration about the lifestyle that a customer should dream, how he'll be able to live lifestyle. Sample flat is basically what exactly you're going to give him: flooring, fittings, switches, and if you see, when we are now entering Bangalore, the concept is simple. The show and sample is same. You may do aspirational, but you still can't, because you will always be under this understanding that the customer is saying, I will get all these things. So with RERA, in that south of India, the understanding is that what I get is what I should be shown. You see a lot of changes that has happened in the post-RERA regime is that you can't show an aspirational image also, which is representing something else while you're not going to give. I'll give you, without naming a developer, there was a case in RERA where which is widely used image of a couple looking at a view of a golf course and having a cup of coffee. Unfortunately, the grill was in SS. The developer has never given that as an end product. The customer actually took that image, the brochure, and went to RERA and said that the builder has not given me as promised. He was supposed to give me an SS railing. Yeah. So there are cases like that. But to answer at macro level, every city predominantly works on a certain parameter. For Bombay, you will see both. Like in all our projects, there is a show flat, there is a sample flat. South is this. If you go to North, they also have a sample flat, they also have a show flat. They sometimes even show you bare shell, because a lot of investor fraternity North market works with. So that's how it works. But if you go to Kolkata and all, you'll see only one. The developer is very clear, I will not show both the options. So you will do a show flat. And if the customer asks, ये तो हमने aspirational किया हुआ है, बाकी ये सब नहीं रहेगा, बस flooring और ये रहेगा. So you now visualize what you are getting. So that's how normally the concept works.
With the evolving role of in digital first world, how is the role of physical experience centers changing? And what do you see it where it is heading? Because a lot of AI integration that we are expecting in coming years together. Would this physical presence of experience centers and show apartments will sustain for a longer time? Will that touch and feel sensory privileges that we want to give it to the client are going to sustain for a longer time? Or we look for, as design and build firms, we should look for more of AI integration, learnings and education in that? Any of you, if you want to answer this.
So I completely agree that we have to get more tech savvy, and we all have to use AI today as a tool which, if you're not using it, you are really falling behind in terms of not only design, but a lot of things in our day-to-day experiences. But having said that, I don't see the difference because we're brick and mortar, we're touch and feel. That can't go away. We're real estate, right? However, technology-driven our experiences can be, eventually the person wants to actually feel their senses when they're making your life's largest check. Real estate at every level, whether it's, as Ayushi said, the 1 crore ticket buyer or the 60 crore ticket buyer, it is still the biggest paycheck he's pulling out from his checkbook. So it's a very emotional decision, and it's a decision that's driven by all our senses. So I don't see those senses going away. Sorry, I'm gonna cut in this. Sorry guys, I have a hard stop. Panel started a little late, so I have to be somewhere. Thank you all for the time. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you here, and don't want to disturb the other panelists. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Bye, Ram. Have a good day. So to answer further to what Ram said, see, predominantly what happens in the current times that we are living, right, world has changed a lot. And when I say the world has changed a lot, it has changed across all the distribution, whether it is the customer, whether it is the developer, whether it is the channel partner, whether it is the influencer, right? What it means is that influencer is someone who's going to stay there, but is not the one who's going to cut the check. The channel partner is someone who used to be traditionally used through his phone diary and used to call the customer. Today is going digital, does the campaign through digital, does Facebook campaign, Instagram campaign, he has his website, and so multiple avenues. You look at developer, what has happened, developer's aspiration has changed and is reached now sky. I keep talking to my chairman, Ashwin, Sheth, and constantly he says that, why you're looking only Bombay as your market? Look at India, look at international, right? What does it mean? You will have to have a marriage of the physical experience and the digital experience, is because there are stages where each one have a big contribution. For example, if I'm looking for, if God forbid, and sometimes I could afford a 60 crore apartment, and I will definitely have an understanding, I'll talk to, what is his name? I forgot the head, marketing head? CJ. CJ is a friend. He was talking, I've seen, gone through the presentation. Lovely project, must compliment for that. So if I have to look at that, I have a choice that I'll either go to a CP, right? Or if I know someone from the company, I'll go directly to there. Now, normally at the stage of this ticket size, I will not do digital search, or probably ask through a CA or this to get the detail. But imagine now we are entering plotted development, villa development, right? Farmhouses. 60% of the country villa development and plotted development is sold through online. The customer has never seen the site. He has never entered that city and has bought it. Yeah. Goa is a class example. Lot of NRIs have bought and they have never come. You see the other side flip. If a developer today, the business distribution is, the main city gives you almost 40, 50, 60% of the business revenue. 30, 20% goes between your nationally from other cities like metros. 10 to 12% is basically your international market. How would you every time be physically present? So you will do a road show, but before you coming for a road show, you will inform the customer through digital platform, and I'm gonna come. I'll create excitement in his mind, show him something visually interactive, and once I get his interest, I'll send my team to close the check, right? So it is gonna be a very interesting combination of these two, physical and this, that will...
So coexistence is going to be there all the time.
And it has to be embraced rather than being forced. I think a brand who will embrace it really well will grow a long way as compared to a forced thing, no, you will have to do because the other guy is doing it.
Cool. The last question for the panel is, the next generation buyer. How will experience centers and sample apartments adapt to the millennial and Gen Z's buyer expectations?
Should I answer as a millennial? Honestly, I feel when millennials or Gen Zs view real estate, right, I think there's one perception that it's a very difficult asset class, it's a complicated asset class, all of these things come in mind, but I think the entire concept of experience centers and show apartments and all of that really simplifies it for them, right? So when we're looking at the tech integration that, I have built the whole experience in 3D as to what the entire project would look like, and we have done that. What we have seen is that doesn't compensate entirely for your actual physical experience centers. People want to come in, they want to enter this new world of your project, whatever you're going to try to build, and the tech tools that you use actually help them convert better. So if my conversion probably was at a 10%, 12%, the technology really gives me the ability to convert at a 17% maybe. And we have seen that really happen across the spectrum, whether it is Gen Z millennials or a slightly older generation, because tech allows you for them to really see in real time, this is going to be my exact view. I'm getting what I paid for, and I'm going to get A, B, C, D specs, and this is what my life is going to be like when I really enter this model apartment, or the tech interface, which really shows them the 360 tour of what they're going to enter into. And that trust, I think, is very important for them. Using technology to uncomplicate things is important. And more than anything, they're buying into a lifestyle. And by you building this experience center, you're really showing them what that life could be like. And that's what they're buying into versus just buying into real estate. They're buying into this whole experience of what a new life could look like for them, their parents, and also their future kids. So they're really looking at it through a very practical perspective. And that's what you need to solve for them. And that's how you have to also present this asset class to them. It's no longer just aspiration. It's a very practical use. They want to use it today. They're not buying for, their third, fourth generation in future. They're not thinking that far. They're thinking for what they are going to use today and how that's going to benefit them.
No, I think pretty much everything she said. So I have a very different take on this, so people may be making, probably judging them from their behaviors and stuff like that, but ultimately, sooner or later, they are going to become your primary buying class at the end of the day. There are certain probably attributes which have been attached to the Gen Zs or millennials, is that they are ever curious, they probably cut through the bullshit, want to take things at face value maybe, the hesitant, non-committal, and so on and so forth. So I think, probably, so the responsibility of making the experience center or the entire experience inclusive for this generation is, never been more important than probably it is today. So what we need to understand is that experience centers won't be just selling spaces, Ultimately, what they are going to, sell is ultimately vision of life, vision of work, and ultimately the communities that they're going to eventually step into. So as architects, I think, we need to bring, that sense of authenticity, the spatial intelligence, and the most important part is the narrative depth. So the Gen Zs and millennials, the narrative is very, very important. Probably our ancestors and probably the generations before us basically bought that from a basic need of roti, kapda, and makan types. But, these guys, the story, the vision and how the whole experience comes together sort of, sells a lot. So when ultimately, from this narrative depth, they are coming closer to the reality from a point of view that the concept, the design, the brick and mortar, the technology, so all of that is, seemingly converging into the sort of an aspirational sort of a space that they would eventually buy into. So I think that convergence ultimately can lead, where the curiosity becomes confidence, and that hesitation becomes the commitment, That is ultimately what you need to, to entice them to make the buying decision. So I think these are some of the softer aspects I think the experience centers or the show flats must definitely bring in through the design.
So I'll just add to what both of them said. So if you see, in 2020, there was a most famous published report from one of the leading private banking firm, and they said that, post-COVID, there has been a significant shift in the buying behavior, and there is an entry of a new entrant, which is basically Gen Zs and millennials. Pre-2020, 73% was basically bought by non-millennials and Gen Z. You understand, when you look at a larger economy, you have to understand what this Gen Z means. Basically, they are very extremely optimistic about their future. They are risk taker. They believe that in next 5 years, my income will be double, while the other guy says that every 3 years, my income will grow. I will not take risk. Let me be in FD, while this guy will say, let me put in stock market. And you see how grow has grown, right? So one is that. Second, this TG of Gen Z before COVID used to spend maximum of their income in experiences. You see Instagram is full of there, they will show that they've gone to a restaurant, before eating they will click photo. That's the mindset. Because they believe that they are living in an artificial world, which means that life is full of experiences. Why, if I'm in Bombay today, I have an opportunity in Bangalore tomorrow, why should I buy a home and put a loan? Post-COVID, what has happened, almost 38% of Gen Zs have actually bought in real estate. So if you really know the reason why post-COVID there was a significant upscale in real estate sector was because of 3 reasons. One, post-COVID, the area which was considered to be 500 became 850. So it almost grew by 70-80% there. Second, a new entrant, Gen Z, came into picture with 38% of new buyers. And third most important, the existing customer base now started looking at, instead of 2, they started looking at larger homes, which is 3 and 4. So overall, the offtake increased by 3-fold. Gen Z specifically also look at experiences, rightly said, they don't like to go into drama. They are impatient. Not impatient because of just being as an attribute, but they are also impatient because they think everything in their life, they have got instant. I know a lot of Gen Zs in my family who has never met that Kirana owner, but online app and he gets the answer. Our generation would go connect with him, talk to the owner, kaise ho, and get all that stuff done. So in a show flat scenario of a real estate, a Gen Z is someone who will buy at least 3 to 4 times with you over a period of time in the next 30 to 40 years. And he will look at experiences because that's the fundamental portion of his life on his personal side. If you are able to use tech in this experience, then he will be loyal to you as a brand. He will advocate about you as a brand, and he will always prefer you over a brand who's traditionally doing business. That's the crux actually about it.
Wonderful. So, if experience is the product and trust is the brand, the design is the glue that binds them together. Every touch point, whether it's an experience center, a sample apartment, is an opportunity to create belief, not just make a sale. And belief is, as we heard today, is the most enduring form of luxury. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you for this wonderful conversation that we had today. We end our session today with this note. I hope we all are enlightened and we have acquired a good knowledge about why these experience centers and the physical experiences needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tushar.
Thank you so much.
This. It was engaging.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause for all of them, please, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean big round of applause. Come on, yes. Thank you. I'll request all of you to please wait on stage. And I'll request Mr. Shoaib Sheikh, Sales Head, Nemetschek Architecture and Design Business, Nemetschek India Private Limited, Nemetschek Group, to please kindly come up on stage and give away the token of appreciation to all our esteemed speakers over here. Big round of applause for Mr. Shoaib as well, please, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.